Let's explore another area or two of layer styles, and let's start with something called emboss. I like emboss because what it does is it begins to create the illusion of a three-dimensional space using smoke and mirrors, or actually light and shadow, to make me see something three-dimensional on what I know logically is a two-dimensional flat surface. Open up in your work folder bevelemboss.psd. Now while you're doing that, I will come over here and bring the layers panel up like this. I have two layers besides the background. One is called hands, and it's got guess what in it. And one's called emboss, and guess again. Let's start with the word emboss. Let's go down to our FX button right here and go into bevel and emboss. As you can see, it begins to look more three-dimensional. You have a light source that's lighter up here, and with a shadow area down here with the lights kind of coming down like this, it gives the illusion that it's kind of protruding out of that surface, or it's embossed. Now we have a lot of different options when it comes to doing a bevel and emboss. You have things like the style. You can do outer bevels, inner bevels, pillow emboss, all kinds of different ways we can explore how we want our emboss to look. Let's take it back to inner for now. You have techniques like smooth or chisel hard and chisel soft. Take it back to smooth for now. You have a depth. Now watch what happens to the bevel when I do depth. I'm going to use my up and down arrow keys. It gets deeper. The shadow areas get longer or taller. So it looks like it's extending out the more I do that. You have a direction. This is sunlight. It does the exact opposite of what you've chosen. So right now, the sunlight, in a sense, or the light source, is coming from here down this way. If I click down, it goes in the other direction. Of course, you have a size option here. Let's go ahead and make that really something like that just for now. Change that to 20. We have a soften option to soften up those shades and colors. Down here in shading, here's your angle of 120 degrees. The best angle, according to most studies, is 125. That's close enough because that's kind of where the light is in the upper left, shining down on things, and we're comfortable with it there. The altitude is the distance of the light source from the horizon, like the sun. And this goes from 0 to 90 straight overhead if you want to change that. You have a contour option for your gloss, and you can try some interesting different ways to put it together. You have anti-alias that softens things up, especially when you're going into contour and trying something different. You have a highlight mode and a shadow mode, opacity, and a blending mode for each one of those, and a color. The highlight is white by default, and the shadow mode is black by default, but you can change that. Let's go ahead and get out of here, click OK. If we come over here into opacity, we can change it that way, make it go away if you want to. Don't forget what fill does. Fill only works with the color that we have on the layer. It doesn't work with the actual emboss itself, and we create something interesting like that. It looks like it's embossed into the surface, but it's only looking that way, remember, because it's transparent, and it's showing through to the background, so our illusion on a two-dimensional surface is it must be part of the surface. Let me go ahead and turn that back up again. Let's go ahead and double-click again. Something else you can do if you want to do it. I mean, there's so many things over here. But for example, we've done color overlay if you want to change the color. But we also have one called gradient overlay if you want to put a gradient on it, and a pattern overlay. You can try all kinds of different patterns. Now, the normal for a pattern is 100% normal blending mode, which means it's going to overwhelm anything that you do. But we can change the opacity. And if you want to change the blending mode, you can do that too. Let's go ahead and click OK. Now let's say that we like that, and what we would like to do is apply it to other elements within this document, other layers. It's actually very easy to do. If you want to move it, grab Effects and drag it down to Hands. Now if you do that, it will remove it from here and apply it to Hands. If you want a copy of it, you hold the Alt key down. That's Alt in Windows, an Option on a Mac, of course. And you want to hold the Alt key before you click and drag. I don't know why, but it won't work unless you do it that way. And we bring it up as a copy, and well, if you want to, now you got it on both of them. But don't forget, if you go, say, to Hands, and turn off the fill, it's beginning to make it look like it's embossed within that surface. And if we turn off pattern overlay, that even helps the effect all that much more. If we want it to look like it's going in, go back into Effects for Hands and change the bevel and emboss to down, and it's more like it's going in as opposed to out. Now, that's a hard thing to really get right, to be honest with you. But in most cases, people do think that if it's light up here and dark down here, it's coming out at me. If it's dark on the top and light on the bottom, it's going in. Embossing and working with things like pattern overlays are just more features in layer styles to give you control over what you want to do.